Yo, I'm Anthony DiNardo. This is Sport. Michael McKenry. It's Friday, which means it is Sport Friday. What's up, everyone? What's up, Sport?
Did you do that? Did you make that?
I did.
Come on. You outdid yourself there. That was outstanding. That was great.
Come on, you don't have to hype me up now.
I'm just saying, I was all hyped up, got a little bit of kind of goosebumps, ready to go.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. How you been?
Good, just busy. Just got back from Houston, getting my house ready for a kid I've mentored over the last probably 7-8 years. He's 17. He's going to Middle Tennessee. He wanted to work, so his dad's flying him up. He's staying in the weekend, and we're going to do 2-a-days. So I'm really excited. But I had a lot to do when I got back from Houston because those days got really, really long. But I'm good. How about you? The winter meetings, fun?
Yeah, I'm good too. I was at the winter meetings. We were pretty busy all last week. Let's put it this way. Start off. I mean, this show was supposed to be like 2 weeks ago. Didn't happen. We've been caught up and busy and all this. So we finally got together. Yeah. Tough. Not tough times, but right. A lot of work. I'll say this. You're mentoring the kid. He wants to work. I mean, there's no one more ready to put someone to work than I think Michael McKenry right now. So
I like to work, man. I really do. I love the grind of it all. It's probably the only thing I miss when it comes to the game. If I could choose a perfect job, I would say just the grind. Go to the cage, work out, everything as a player except play. And I love the game. I love playing. I just don't like the business of it. And that's all just so pure for me.
Gotcha.
You know where you stand. You know what you're trying to do. You can accomplish it. I think I would get the itch really, really bad. But yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite things. Like I'll be right in the mix with him. I'll have my gear on. I'll be doing all the stuff with him. And I think it's easier to learn that way. I had someone do that for me. And I'm really excited because I haven't got to do this in a little bit, especially since I moved here. Just grab somebody and, say, hey, we're going to get after it for a little while. Let's have some fun.
Yeah. Well, not to take this down a bad path, but, recent news, don't get too close because you might end up catching right now for the Pirates. So stay a little bit back right now.
Man, that's tough, dude.
Yeah.
That's tough. Really tough.
I mean, do you want to just lightly touch on that? I mean, Endy, it's recent news. Endy's out for the whole year. Tommy John. I mean, what's the stress in like that for a catcher?
Honestly, it's not too common. But when you think about his past, he's never been exclusively a catcher. And I think he saw how good he was at throwing and he wanted to show it off. And you can't blame him. But as the season goes and you're starting to wear down, things start to fall awry. And I think that's what happened. And then he goes and plays winter ball. It kind of surprised me he was playing winter ball. And then he just disappeared off the map. It scared me. I said on the podcast with Mackie that I don't know what's going on, but usually when something like this is going on, it's not good news.
Yeah.
And that signing that they had did not make sense at all. Even for depth option, because, you don't have to add someone to the roster. I still think they're going to make another move and possibly shore up that position because Henry is so unproven and you don't want to wear delay down. He's only caught 70 games max in the major leagues. He's never been a starter in the minor league. So it's going to be interesting how they play that out. I hope Endy's okay, not just physically, but mentally. He's such a happy-go-lucky dude. A lot of those guys have a hard time kind of going through that emotionally. So the thing he loves so much just got taken away from him. So I hope he can take some time and grow in a different way and find ways to keep his brain occupied because when you get hurt, it is tough, especially when you're young. But they still believe in him. They would have gone out and signed someone big if they didn't. I think he'll be back and ready to go sooner than later.
Yeah, so do a lot of Pirate fans right now. So, no, I'll say this. You say he's, happy-go-lucky. His mentality, hope he's okay in that sense, and I agree with you as well. One thing I noticed was the day of the surgery that night, if you looked at his Instagram page, he posted like his top 5 artists that he listened to for the year. I'm like, okay, he's not taking this too bad, I guess, right now. So
could be the pain medicine.
Positivity.
Could be the pain medicine.
could have been the pain medicine. I was like, I wasn't expecting like Pittsburgh's melting down because again, it was at night when we all found out. And Pittsburgh's in a total meltdown. And you go to Endy's page and he's like, here's my top 5 Spotify artists. Or like, Endy, that's not what I wanted to see right now, but cool.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope he's okay. I mean, blessing in disguise. Henry's going to get a chance and a great chance. And I think that's something that should have been in the picture prior to this, but it's almost inevitable now that he's going to have an opportunity because if it works, I mean, that's dynamic. And if it really works, you're talking about maybe similar to what the Braves have, two all-star caliber type catchers, offensively and defensively. Even if you could just get a little bit of both from one, and then one of them be sure-handed, one of them be offensive, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as they can be a little bit above league average when it totals out between the two of them, it'd be sick.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. So, and again, like when the Cruz news came about, we had you on here. You talked about that. Like, there's always some type of positivity and negativity, right? There's an opportunity that maybe brews and such. And like last year, you talked about maybe it's a good thing for Cruz in the sense of he gets to take a step away from the game, learn a lot, process it, right? So, again, maybe that happens with Endy and such. But like I look at this too in that sense of it's like it's not a positive by all means that this happened, right? But the opportunity that comes about is we're gonna find out about Henry Davis. Like we were kind of wondering like what's gonna happen this upcoming year. Is it gonna be right field? Is it gonna be catcher? Is catcher even in the cards? They said it. And they're gonna have to. So I guess like we're definitely gonna find out about Henry Davis in 2024 if catching is in his future or not.
Yeah, and two, you have to tread lightly with the load. I think he can handle it. I hope he's preparing properly, but he's been throwing as an outfielder for over a year, right? That's completely different arm action. The body moves completely different. Not saying he can't do it. You just have to be hyper aware of the way your body's moving and is it moving properly? Am I getting the hand out on time, or am I using other, implements or part of my body to try to get this thing going? Guys with bazookas like that, it's easy to kind of grunt and fart through it, and that arm lags and all that tension's on that elbow and that UCL just goes. So hopefully he's done everything he needs to do, making sure that his mobility is right, his movements are good, and it doesn't matter if he's behind the plate or out in the outfield, he'll be fine. So I think that's one issue Endy had. When you exclusively go somewhere, you may not realize some of the wear and tear you're having or some of the movement issues you're having until it's too late. And I think that's exactly what happened because we're back there because we're willing to get hurt. We're willing to put on the tools of ignorance, and we have to be ignorant to do it. So a lot of times we'll just be ignorant to anything that's going on other than the game itself. I think that's what ultimately happened to Endy. Hopefully it doesn't happen to Henry.
See, you keep saying we. You're going to suit up this year for it. I'm telling you.
Yeah, maybe for a bullpen.
But hey, so getting back to the show a little bit. I mean, this is our debut. We talked like how it's going to be set up. You see the number on the bottom of the screen. If you're listening to the podcast, it's 412-626-7479. Call it, leave a voicemail for Fort. You can ask him anything. The kind of the idea of this is to get like the fans involved, to kind of give you that exposure, talk to them. They have questions you can answer. And like, not even just like this stuff, but like just you personally, things you haven't heard about or some randomness and such. But we'll definitely chop up and talk some ball on here also. But yeah, we'll save the questions for the end. I think let's get into like the big news right now. So Shohei Ohtani signed a $700 million contract. I believe just 650 more than yours. Right?
Yeah.
But just 50 million more than yours is what I meant to say.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You're
absolutely.
650 million, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, $700 million. Now, that was the crazy news. That was just, we figured maybe 400 or 500. You hear 700 million, you're like, holy hell, $700 million, crazy. But then we found out that wasn't even the craziest part about this whole thing. Then a few days later, it comes out that the Dodgers are paying him $2 million a year for the next 10 years during this contract, deferring $680 million. And then you figure like the way it's structured, I want to talk to you about it. Like from in the game, seeing the business side, the player side, everything. $680 million is deferred. But then like when you look at how it's being done, like the Dodgers could pretty much come out of this paying like virtually nothing, and the Dodgers print money. So it's like if all the teams that would do this contract. They're the ones that we needed the least. For what's going on here?
The Dodgers and the Braves right now are playing on a whole nother level. I think there's some other teams that are right behind them, but I mean, they're not just doing it when you look at the roster. Their hires are really good right now too. I mean, they're bringing in special advisors. They brought in Chris Archer. They brought in Nelson Cruz to kind of have that round table and a different look. So they have, these incredibly smart MIT, Harvard guys and Yale guys surrounded with, baseball dudes, but not just your normal baseball dudes, all sorts of baseball guys, backup catchers. Chris Archer went to an Ivy League school, got his degree.
Mm-hmm.
You have Nelson Cruz, played 20 years. It's all over the map. And then now they're doing the Ohtani thing. And I think they were gearing up for this over a year ago. I mean, they got below the luxury tax on purpose. They stayed below it so far. They're going to sign his buddy. They're going to trade for Glass now. They're going to be the greatest superhuman team on the planet. And everybody's going to be like, what happened? And we're going to be like, the Dodgers outsmarted everyone. And that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, think about it. I mean, you know enough about money. You've worked at a bank. They are going to put this money in escrow or invest it, because you have to do a certain amount the way it's structured, and it's going to gain interest. I mean, $40 million a year, if that's what they do, they're going to throw that in there. And it's going to gain a ton of interest. By the time you have to pay him, they're going to have that money in the bank plus some. And then Ohtani's brilliant because he's not going to have to take on the Californian taxes. And it's not just the taxes of living in California. It's playing San Diego. It's playing San Francisco, because every single city you go to, you pay those taxes.
Right.
So he's brilliant. They're brilliant. And it's going to continue to happen. And why other teams don't do it is mind-boggling, especially when you can bet on the human being. I think that's where people hesitate and they get so caught up into this analytical world instead of looking at, like, not only is this dude like a specimen of an athlete and an incredible baseball player, whether he's on the mound or off, but he wants to win. He has done incredible things for his community. I don't know if you saw what he did in Japan. He bought gloves. He bought, like,
for the high school.
Yeah. And all he's wanted to do is win championships and be the greatest player of all time. That's the guy you bet on, right? And Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, also deferred money. They are doing some special things out there. They're letting the baseball people baseball. They're letting the financial people financial. It's really neat to see when you let a engine run properly and you don't try to overmanage, overcoach, or, maybe dictate through. These people are literally hiring the best minds. They all want to know what's right, what's wrong, and they're moving forward in one unison direction. We talk about it all the time, one heartbeat, but these people really have one heartbeat.
It's funny because to kind of sum this all up, like, the Dodgers are like the big bad Dodgers now. Like, it's funny how the Yankees have now become the people that empathize with, or the team that people empathize with. Like, oh, the poor Yankees, I wish they would get better and do. They were hated. Like, they were the evil empire, right? And it's like the Dodgers have now taken over that. And especially with this, I mean, a lot of fans like now just hate the Dodgers and how can they do this? And I honestly, I kind of look at it like it was kind of phrased as like they found a loophole in the CBA. And like, there really is no loophole. It's not a loophole. They just understood it better. Two came to tango. Like, it was more or less, it seems like it was Ohtani's idea to do this. And the Dodgers said, well, let's do it then for sure. And I mean, I have nothing but respect. Like, yeah, I understand they have more money and teams like the Pirates don't have as much. So, like, you can't fathom the Pirates truly doing this deal. I mean, yeah, they could, but I can understand why the Pirates aren't signing Ohtani for $700 million, right? But regardless, like, I have a lot of respect. I mean, they are just geniuses everywhere. They play the small market ball. They play the large market ball. And like, in doing this contract, again, I know a lot of people hate them, but I'm just like, damn it, you're brilliant. And then the other thing is, like, again, because it's not truly a loophole. It's like, how is it 2023 and no one has done this yet?
I mean, if you look at Max Scherzer's contract, there's a lot of teams that have done deferred money and done different things, but the way they did it, right, and how they did it is brilliant. And it takes a guy like Ohtani, because I'm sure the MLBPA is not thrilled necessarily, because that's not going to happen with your run of the mill type player, right? And it's tough to get the free agent in general. I have parts of 7 years, and I had free agency because I got hurt, but that type of free agencies, the 1% of the 1%, probably a decimal, like 0.01%. So he nailed it. And I think it's incredible. I think it's really cool to see what the Dodgers are doing. And they're going to win. And they're going to win a lot because they have one of the best minor league pitching crop.
Yeah.
They traded for the Yankees' top shortstop prospect. So they got a young shortstop, which I think they knew that's the way they should go, so they can have someone that's going to be there and be young for a while. I mean, they're nailing a lot of things on all fronts, and it's going to be impressive for a while. I mean, wow.
Now, what's funny about this too is I specifically remember a show we did. I mean, this years ago, and because you see in the NBA super teams, and could a super team happen in baseball? And we kind of discussed it. It's just it can't. You can do it in basketball because it's 5 guys on the court, right? You get 3 of them, there's a super team, and and the way finances work and stuff, you could do that in the NBA. But in baseball, you just simply can't. There's too many guys, too many parts. There's not enough money. Well, the Dodgers said, screw that. It can be done. Do you is this happening? Are we seeing the first true super team being built in front of our eyes with the Dodgers, do you think?
Yeah, them and the Braves. I would say the Braves is a super team too. And they're just going to get better. But I still think baseball is one of those sports that a lot of things have to go right to get to the actual pinnacle. I mean, what this does is it creates depth because they're not giving up their farm system. They have a deep, deep farm system. They have some of the best coaches on the planet, and they continue to hire well. So they've set themselves up for success for a long time. They're going to win. Are they going to win the World Series? That's where a lot of circumstance, have to fall in their favor. And I think they have as good a chance as any. But with that being said, we know that money's not going to buy them a championship, but they're going to have every opportunity to win, every opportunity, and they're going to win. That would be a surprise if they didn't make it to the playoffs. They didn't win the division, because over a season with that type of talent and that type of depth, it's going to be hard not to win.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a powerhouse. I'm really interested to find out how this offseason finishes with them. Like you mentioned with Yamamoto, it sounds like that was almost like a done deal, even though it's not. But Ohtani's like, listen, my guy, you're coming here. I'm going to take $2 million so you can go ahead and do it. And again, that just they're gonna sign $1 billion in 2 players potentially this offseason.
Yeah, and no matter any way you look at it. So let's say 10 years from now, I mean, where's the luxury tax? Or even better for the Dodgers, right? What does MLB want to do? They want to do exactly what the NFL's done, the NBA's done, right? Let them, right? Dodgers are just going to be over there right? Because they've won all these championships. They've done everything over the last 10 years. And then all of a sudden they somehow do revenue sharing, which I don't know if it could ever happen because of the Dodgers, because of New York and their structures. They're becoming their own entity. And I don't know how MLB's ever going to rein them in. And that just proves even more. And maybe that's the biggest thing here is LA just said, you want to play on our field, you got to step it up. They're not going to give in. I mean, because MLB's been trying hard to grab a hold of every single market. And why would you give up LA, Boston, Chicago? You know what I mean? Why would you give that to MLB when you can just say, nope, I'm just going to take it all for me, do my own thing, and make it work?
Yeah, for sure. Makes a lot of sense. All right. So let's move on to another topic here. Speaking of money, so the Brewers. And this kind of relates because we're not talking about the big bad Brewers that have billions and billions and billions of dollars as well. It's Milwaukee. It's the Brewers. They went and they signed a person to the biggest of, right? So Jackson Chourio, pretty much the unanimous number 1 prospect in baseball, right, is with the Brewers. He has 6 games above Double-A, and he signed the largest contract for a player to never reach the majors yet. and it's pretty big for it. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Jackson Holiday will beat it, I think, but it's going to be the new trend. And the reason why I say that is he's going to be 28 or 29 when it's done. And if it hits, it's kind of like Acuna. I mean, Acuna's already pretty much paid for his 180 millions. It's like Bryce Harper. He's already pretty much paid for his contract, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. And it's going to help that year in, year out salary, so you can add really good pieces to the puzzle. And when you're in Milwaukee, which is pretty much the same size market as Pittsburgh or St. Louis, you have to think outside the box. You have to do things different. I mean, you have to bet on that human being. I'm going to go back to that over and over again. If you see a generational type talent, or if you see a talent that you could build around with a floor that's like understandably high, there's no reason not to do it, because you're going to be able to pay them some money early on. Maybe they don't necessarily deserve it yet, but too often we're paying for players for what they did instead of why they're doing what they're like, best at. Like their best moments have already been, and then you pay them a $300 million contract and you're hoping for it, but it's probably not going to happen.
Right. No, and that's one of the things. I mean, the way baseball is structured, like you really don't hit free agency for the most part until you've created your past, right? And now you're entering like in your 30s and you're kind of on a downswing. So, it makes a lot of sense for team to do this. I mean, the Pirates were one of the teams that definitely did this. I mean, they did with like Marte and Tabata and Kaj. I mean, they're paying guys younger to buy out some free agency, but to never see the majors yet. I'm not saying it's unprecedented, but let me play devil's advocate, because like I know you've been on the show as well, and we talked about this last year, and you're thinking like the Pirates have to think outside the box. They have to do things differently if they're going to compete. They can't give $700 million to Shohei Ohtani. So what they're doing like this Jackson trio, and that frees up more money they can spend elsewhere because they've locked this guy down. But again, devil's advocate, John Singleton. He was, I think, the first ever, right, to sign a deal before hitting the majors with the Astros. And not that it was like any like egregious amount, but he signed a deal. Didn't work out. Right. And that's the one thing with prospects. They don't all hit. And we've seen number 1, number 2, any top 10 prospects in baseball, right? The odds of them hitting better than most, but you still see 4 or 5 of them really not amount to much, right? So like as a team that might be cost conscious, right? Pirates and the Brewers kind of fit there, even though they've signed Yelich even, right, to the 170 or $180 million contract, right? If that person doesn't hit, what happens then?
So that's why I think you have to be very fearful with pitchers, especially at a young age. You don't know. I think they're getting closer and closer to understanding more and more. Until they take the handcuffs off, I think it's going to be a mess. But when it comes to position players, let's go back to Singleton, right? He was an alcoholic. He needed help. I don't know if they didn't see that or they didn't want to see it. But those are the things you have to make sure you don't miss, because it's really more of the outside the field stuff that's going to keep them from becoming who they can be. And I don't think it's necessarily the talent. And there's so much certainty when it comes to the numbers. As long as you understand that human being, you shouldn't be that far off. Now, there are some anomalies. You can't, if you could predict it right every single time, they would. You can't. Some guys just break down. Some guys have genetical issues that maybe they aren't willing to look at. But if they go deep enough, I think they can make a pretty, sure guess that this is going to be okay. There's always going to be a risk, but the other risk is we wait and then we can't have him and we just completely swing and miss. So like, yeah, you're going to swing and miss, but if you bet on the right guy, like I always say, Bednar's a win-win. If he goes out and never throws one pitch this year and you just signed him to a 6-year deal, you still won.
Yeah.
And the reason is because he's going to be in the community. He's from here. He's going to grow the brand. He's going to do everything he can to make his team better. And I promise the jersey sales will probably make up for it. And his story is going to be endless because he's going to be here the rest of his life. So you can't lose on that, in my opinion. Now, Mitch Keller, maybe, but Bednar, no. Kutch, no. Like if you said, Kutch, we're going to sign you to a 10-year deal. Just be around. Like, okay, cool. Done. There's no lose there because if you sign him, you're making money. I mean, we saw that with social media. And I think you just have to look at it from all aspects, a business aspect, marketing, branding, and then also play on the field and, projectability. And I think the Brewers are one of the better teams with forward thinking. I mean, even the way that they did their coaching staff, right? Ricky Weeks is associate head coach. Brilliant. You know why? Because their head coach didn't play in the big leagues, Pat Murphy. But Pat Murphy's an incredibly smart human being with best baseball minds, very loud and outgoing. Ricky Weeks is very similar to the council. And when it comes to, he's very logical, he's very forward thinking, he's going to look outside the box. Those two are going to be perfect together, very similar to how they had it. But now they have a major leaguer and a guy that's been around almost everywhere and he's great with players. So great job. Yeah, because Ricky Weeks wouldn't be a bench coach. Because what's he going to tell Pat Murphy? Pat Murphy's managed for 30 years as either a bench coach or whatever. So having that dynamic is amazing. And I think that's the way it should be because those two guys, I think really should be co-managing a game anyways. And then there should be a field coordinator. And you already have a game strategic planner or whatever they call them nowadays. So the bench coach is really non-existent after spring training because they make him do all the field work. So really cool stuff. I like what the Brewers are doing too. It's kind of wild to see all these teams doing stuff that's way outside the box.
Right.
When all I want is our Pirates to do it. We did hire an assistant GM. We have 3 of them now.
Yeah.
We're the only team that has that.
Right. Yeah. But right. Yeah. And I mean,
and we're the only team that doesn't have a special advisor. Just FYI, which is crazy to me.
Talk about this because I mean that's every league. It seems like it's a copycat league. You hear that all the time, right? MLB's this no different, right? Like especially when the Royals won the World Series, and it's like, oh my God, they're doing this with the bullpen, and the Yankees go out and buy 14 arms the next offseason. It seemed like. So again, we talk about things are copycat league now. This is happening. Do you envision like more of these signings happening as well, and maybe the Pirates doing it?
Yeah, but if it's already been done, they're too late.
Okay.
And that's sad to say, but it's so true. And they're doing some things that are different. Like I think the recent signing they had with Rowdy was awesome. I didn't even see that on the spectrum of an off chance that we could get that guy. They nailed it, in my opinion. I mean, I didn't want a first baseman, but $3.5 million or whatever it is for a huge upside power bat to platoon with, Joe and remind me I always forget his name. Anyways, to platoon with another righty is brilliant.
At first?
Yeah.
Right now on the team?
Triolo.
Is there another one?
Triolo. Yes. Triolo.
Oh. Well, you're okay. So you're going that route. I'm not labeling Triolo a first baseman yet.
He's going to be a super utility, in my opinion.
Well, that's right. That's where I feel like he's best. I don't want him to be penciled in at first. I want him playing everywhere because that's where his value in my mind truly is. Mm-hmm. You actually have a legit first baseman to let Triolo do what he does, which is play amazing defense pretty much everywhere and have the bat.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to go down this route, but you brought it up. Let's talk because I have a different opinion with Rowdy Tellez. Now, I don't disagree with what you said. Like the power potential is certainly there. This guy who's hit 30 bombs and such, right? But I guess that where I'm at with this and with the Pirates is there's a lot of risk that comes with him. Like he had the off year last year. Mm-hmm. When you look at his career, it's been up and down every single year. Mm-hmm. Now you could say this is the even year, so it's going to be good, but it's been up and down. It hasn't been like a sure, consistent thing. The Pirates, in my mind, have a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of risk. I mean, it's a lot of young guys who didn't perform. You're expecting and hoping that they all take a step forward if you're really going to compete. So, like the way I've always looked at this offseason, what it needed to be was risk mitigation, right? You need to get some sure things. You need to shore it up because if this guy doesn't pan out, that guy doesn't pan out, at least you have, this stalwart or whatever that's there you brought in. So like if you're going to get a first baseman, even if it was a Carlos Santana, like you feel a little more sure about it. It might not be the highest level, right? The utmost upside, but you feel comfortable there. That's what I do have, right? When you look at the rotation, like it's Mitch Keller and who? They got Marco Gonzalez. I like that. I like that. But there's still a lot of risk there, So like I want to get some guys in that might have some certainty. So when I look at the Rowdy Tellez signing, there is upside, but I felt like if this team was maybe more in a position where it's safe and you're looking for some upside, this makes sense. I feel like it just adds to more of the risk on this team.
I completely agree. And I think if it wasn't nailed, and I mean nailed with the money, I don't think they would have taken either risk. I think that's where we're winning. Talise probably should have been in the $6-7 million range when it comes to arbitration. So you get him for less than what you would have gotten Santana or any other first baseman, and he probably has as high as upside as anybody you could afford. And everyone that is listening to this that wanted a right-handed power bat, like we play at PNC, it doesn't work unless they go opposite field. It does not work. Guy hits well at PNC. I love taking guys from rivals because they understand what they're doing, why they're trying to do it. They can give some nuances. That's what I did when I went to the Cardinals. I stole signs. I did a bunch of stuff. We beat the Pirates. We won a couple series, and I didn't play. But I knew a lot of things that they didn't change, so it helped. So there's a lot of benefit, and I think they just got the money right. And if it goes well, I think he could be a guy that could step in, year out, until you figure it out. And he may fall in love because he would love to be somewhere where people want him. And he's a great clubhouse guy. So wins all the way around. Same thing with Gonzalez. I don't think they pay him $12 million, but you got that value if he's at his best. That's what a lot of these guys are going for, that $9 to $12 million range. And you get the Braves to pay for, half of it. You lose an arm, but it is what it is. I mean, I think you are checking the boxes of some things that win, lose, or draw, it's not going to hurt the piggy bank. And if there's a better player to come in, you can push them out or trade them and not be like, oh, what do we do?
Yeah. No, and that's why I say, like, in a vacuum, right? That kind of money for what he is.
I do love that statement that you said, risk management, because I'm a huge believer on you can only be as good as you are sure. Like you have to have some sureties, like having a great defender at third base in Key Bryant, having a great defender in Triolo. Those are things you can bet on, right? Having a great defender in Delay, right? Those guys are plus defenders. It's something you can bet on. Now, if you're betting on Kutch going out and being the DH every day and he goes out and plays a plus right field, you just got better. And that's where like possibilities, but that's really small. And you don't want to have that every single place because you are unsure, because we don't know how O'Neal Cruz is going to handle, all the load that he's going to take, if he's going to be sure-footed or not. I mean, there's a lot of question marks, like you said, and having some certainty is such a key to winning.
Agree.
So
now, my biggest takeaway.
I'm going to steal that.
All yours. But again, I just want to say my biggest takeaway is you cheated for the Cardinals against the Pirates.
Not cheated.
Oh, no, that's cheating for it. That's cheating.
Not cheating.
At any rate, I like that. So let's do something, though. Let's maybe answer one question, and then we'll go and talk about a couple other things. So here, I'll bring it up. This is from FC Metro from our Discord.
Yes, sir. First time listener, first time caller. Buenos nachos, by the way. How many of them red hot Martinsville hot dogs could y'all eat in one sitting? I asked because my partner saw me eat or heard of me eating allegedly 26 of them within one 500-mile race. And I wanted to know if y'all think y'all could beat my record or if I'm just too good. Thank y'all, and y'all stay blessed. Adios, amigos.
All right, Fort. So here's the thing. He wants to know how many Martinsville hot dogs could we eat? And do you even know what a Martinsville hot dog is?
I don't, but 26.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of dog. Oh, that's a lot of dog, sir.
So I'll say this. I didn't know. No, I'm not a NASCAR fan. Are you also a NASCAR fan? I mean,
No,
you're from
but I do
Tennessee,
want to
so
go
I
to an
guess,
event. I heard it's an absolute blast. So, I mean, you're talking about a long, long journey when it's 500 laps and it's hot and it's loud. So maybe he's just stuffing them in like Lay's potato chips, but 26, that's a lot.
yeah. So I did a little bit of research, right? Because again, I didn't even know Martinsville was a place that they race at. I thought it was like the brand name or something. No, that's the track. Okay, makes
Okay.
sense. But I do look it up. So here, actually, they are. So here is the Martinsville hot
Oh,
dog, and I guess he called them the red, right? I guess they went away from the red and went something else, and everyone like revolted, so they went back to this old style hot dog. But that's the hot dog.
what's on it?
Now
Onions?
it
Chili?
looks like like chili and
Is it-
onions and sauerkraut, I think too.
Oh, so we got a little saw in there, sauerkraut sauce. And I see the mustard. Whew,
Yeah.
phew.
So this isn't just like your typical hot dog either. And so again, me doing some research, so I'm like, okay, he did this whole race, right? So I guess the fastest race that was ever done. I mean, we come prepared for it. The fastest race ever done was Jeff Gordon. He did this in 3 hours, 11 minutes, and 54 seconds. Now, granted, I take it he's probably, like before the race starts, he's actually grabbing a dog and starting his, plethora of 26 in front of him. So say 3.5 hours. So, like,
Mhm.
how many of them hot dogs do you think you could actually consume in 3.5 hours?
I mean, not that many. With pride, I would try to do my best. But my better question: Who does you said Jeff Gordon, right?
Yes.
So do you think whatever the fan's name was that just said that he spent more time on the toilet than Jeff Gordon did around the lap? The 3.5 hours because like I just keep thinking about that coming out because it's going in, it's coming out. I mean, he may have his own like NASCAR sponsorship after that.
It
I mean,
might be the it
you're
might
talking
be
about
the
a jet
FC
engine,
Metro
man.
toilet in Martinsville.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I bet they have the best toilets. They have to. Whew.
It's funny you say that because I thought the same thing. But here's the other thing also. So, like, I'm trying to answer this question. And it's funny because I think he asked this question months ago. And this is before I even knew like what the hot dog was or whatever, or like the time. And what I did say was hot dogs are like nothing. Like I feel like if I really, really tried in one sitting, like I could probably eat a dozen.
Yeah. I think I could down, a baker's dozen, but like I'm just thinking about the sauerkraut, the chili, the
Right.
onions. Those things are gut busters, dude. Like
Right.
it's yeah. You better hurry, and then you have a 3.5 hour race. So yeah, within an hour, let's say we're just popping in. We do 15. You're missing the rest of that race, right?
And that's what I'm saying too. So I'm thinking in
And
my
there's
head
only
too
porta
also.
potties at most of these places too. So you're getting hot boxed out there, and
Oh
you're
man.
not the only person that ate that Martinsville chili dog. So woo, hold on to your britches, boys and girls. It's gonna be like that
But
Dumb and
yeah.
Dumber. That's what it's gonna be like.
Mm,
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 Lloyd.
no.
Hmm.
But okay, so again, take it to another level because I'm thinking in my head too. I'm like, if I could eat again a dozen at a time, but I have 3.5 hours, so like 15, 18 maybe.
Are you
But
talking
I'm
about
also
fully
thinking
loaded
if I'm
though?
at a race, and I know how these races are,
Fully
I
loaded. I don't know. 15, 18. What that man did is very impressive. You're talking about a fully loaded hot dog.
but think about this. Where my head's going. Again, like those races, you're probably drinking. And if I'm drinking, I probably could
Mm,
eat a little bit more. But
mm.
again, what you just mentioned, if I'm also drinking on top of the chili, on top of the slaw, like it's probably not gonna be pretty. So I'm with you. Did he spend more time than Jeff Gordon? He might have.
I,
It
I
was
think,
probably not fun after the Martinsville 500. I'll say that.
oof. Or maybe it's just normal. Maybe he can just take it down, and his gut says, "This is just normal. This is the jet fuel I run on day in day out. No problem here." I don't know. I do want to know that. So call back
pity.
in. Like, I mean, I do want to know.
I pity everyone he was with.
Yeah, man. And the cost. I'd love to know the cost. I don't know.
Oh, I saw that. That's the other thing that like they're known. Well, I should say known for, but it's $2. Like they don't up the price. Like it's just known like it's $2. That's why everyone loves them. But I mean, he still spent $52 on hot dogs. Let's think about that.
Yeah, I mean, $52 on hot dogs. I mean, I don't know if I've ever eaten more than 5 hot dogs in my entire life. Like in one sitting is what I'm saying.
I'm gluttonous though. I definitely have.
Yeah, I'm a corn dog guy now. I used to love hot dogs, but and I'm a sucker for a chili dog, but I haven't had one in a while. But man, thinking about that with sauerkraut and everything, hot, loud noises. Come on, I guess you can sneak those, bubble guts with all the engines. You just kind of fit in. True, it's tough.
Yeah, but at some point you might have an accident, man. You can't sneak that.
That's so true. So true. Maybe he did. Maybe he let one slip on accident. I don't know. I do want to know that. I'm very interested.
Well, there you go. Let us back. Let us know.
Yeah, please.
Let's move on because my stomach's hurting just thinking about that still. But I do want to talk about one more thing, baseball wise, and then we'll hit up everyone else's questions, which still have some baseball in it. So I mean, we talked about the Brewers in division, what they're doing with Churio, right? But let's talk about this happened a little bit in the past, but the Cardinals look to get better. They had some signings. And I think a lot of people were like kind of poo-pooing on them. Like, yeah, Sonny, great. He's a great pitcher, right? But they signed Kyle Gibson and they signed Lance Lynn. And those guys aren't good. And they spent $22 million or $24 million in doing so. Like, that was just awful. And I kind of want your viewpoint because this is kind of where I was going with this. I don't think people really truly understand and know the value of, like, yeah, they didn't have the best ERAs, but they just signed for $22 million, like 400 innings coming to them. Those two guys. I mean, they will put up innings like 170 to 200 a year. And like, can you maybe tell us the value, like what the Cardinals did and what those pitchers like they bring and how that's really not that bad of a signing?
I mean, look back to the Pirates year last year. We would have done anything to have those guys, and we probably wouldn't have had the injuries that we had. We could have allowed some of these younger guys to stay in AAA a little bit longer and develop and figure some things out where they're not developing in the big leagues, lose their confidence, and it become almost mayhem. So there's value in it. You look at what the Cubs have done over the last couple of years. That's who they've been signing. They don't have a bunch of flamethrowers. They have consistency. And go back to that risk to reward, risk management. These guys come in, you're going to get the innings. They've been workhorses. They probably have scar tissue over their ligaments, so they're probably not going to blow. And if they do, you're not saying, oh gosh, what are we going to do? That's when you can bring up your young guys. But the value of having those guys like that, they've learned to compete in a game that's losing its competitive edge when it comes to going out and just figuring out a way to win on any given day. Those guys are invaluable for me. I mean, Rich Hill last year, we talked about it over and over again. I mean, leaves here with a 4.6 or whatever it was. And did he pitch great? No, but we saw Oviedo get better. We saw Keller get better. We saw a lot of guys learn from him. And I think some of the coaches learned from him. And I think you have to put in the entire package when you look at it and say, okay, I kind of understand. And they've also had success. The Cardinals have had success signing older guys, and these guys still have good enough stuff to get out. So they're going to be in a ballpark where all those guys have advantage because it's pretty fair when it comes to hitting. It's hot. So during the year, I feel like that leans towards those older guys because it's so hot down there. They're going to be loose. They're going to be free. And they're all in a better division of pitching than they have been in the last couple of years. So there's a reason the Dodgers traded for Lance Lynn last year. He still has value. He's still a competitor, and he still does things well, but he knows what he does well. And you cannot talk about that enough when it comes to today's game. Everybody's chasing a little bit better spin, a little bit better shape. These guys know what they got, but they're also chasing those things. So knowing that, they come in, Lance Lynn just built a house and he has a pitching tunnel and a pitching lab in his basement. So he's in it for the long haul. He wants to be better. He wants to win. He's going back to his old stopping ground. So you don't want to bet against those guys where you can say, yeah, so and so signed a 6-year deal and whatnot, and then second year, he's fighting to get 140 innings. He's not good because he's settled. These guys are around because they want to win, and that's where the value comes in. I see where guys maybe poo-poo on it, whatnot, but right now, be honest, would you not take any of them? Obviously,
Yes.
Sonny Gray, but you'd take any of them, and for that price, right now with the Pirates.
That's kind of where it was. Like, I didn't really talk about Kyle Gibson so much, but Lance Lynn, I was like, I would actually want the Pirates to sign him because I think there's some upside with him as well. Still, like it's not just he's a 5 ERA pitcher and he's awful. Like I think he can come back. Maybe not to the degree it was, of course, right? But I think there's certainly some upside. And again, he's going to give you 200 innings if you ask for it.
If you get 200 innings,
a lot of value at that.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I'd take a college kid if they throw 200 innings. I mean, they have to be somewhat competitive, obviously, to be able to get to that. But you think about the restriction Skeens is going to have, Priester's going to have, Ortiz is going to. None of these guys, if we do well this year, none of these guys have ever thrown this many innings. So we're going into playoffs with nothing. And they may shut them down if we make it, right? So having those guys, you have something. Other than that, you're going to be trading. That's why you sign those guys. You go out and get some guys where they're either trying to prove themselves or they're there because it's the last hope for them to win. So they're going to go all in. I mean, we saw that with AJ. We saw that with Liriano and different guys in my era. And that's the guys you want. You want the guys that want the ball and they are either on their last leg. If they don't succeed, they're either going to be out or fighting for a job, or they're literally there to win. And I think all those guys are there to win. I mean, the fact Sonny Gray said, I wanted to be a Cardinal.
Yeah.
I want someone to say that about the Pirates.
Right.
Yep. I wanted to be a Pirate. I would literally poop myself just like that guy that ate 26 hot dogs.
Love it.
Yeah.
But you're right. And that was what kind of hurt is, I mean, you looked at the Sonny Gray deal and I was like, man, the Cardinals made out. I mean, 3 years, $75 million for him. I was expecting probably more years. So like they only had 3 years on the books obligated. It's a pretty good deal. And then it came out and said, yeah, he wanted to be there. I was like, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals got away with one again.
They seem to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Like, and it's crazy because of how bad they were last year and how good they're going to be this year.
Right.
Like the flip, because they have a good bullpen. So you just added some depth to the starters. Now you have Yachty around, the Scalos. All these guys that won in a Cardinals uniform are coming back too. Once again, like that's a missing piece with the Pirates. I would love to see happen.
There you go. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and finish up the show. Some more questions for you. So this one comes from Sean Hooper.
Hey guys, this is Sean Hooper from California. My dad was born and raised in Pittsburgh, so I've been a diehard since I was born. And a few questions I have for the four are, was it hard to get the team to be motivated and see the potential for success during the 2010, 2011, and 12 seasons before our playoff run? Do players enjoy being on a team where they can turn around bad years of a franchise and to be competitive? Or do they prefer just going to the Yankees and the Astros of the world? My biggest sports regret is not going to the 2013 playoff game. So it would be great to hear the atmosphere from a player. I'm a huge Penguins and Steelers fan, so I've been to Super Bowl, Stanley Cups, and on TV, it didn't seem close to what the Pirates experience was. It just seemed incredible, superior to any other sports game that I've seen in Pittsburgh on TV. And lastly, I live by part of the things I live by is good culture spits out bad people. So it's encouraging to see players want to come play with us now. Do you think we are close to being actually relevant? And if you were the GM, what would your top 3 priorities or top 3 players you'd like to acquire be during this offseason? Thanks, Fort. Thanks, NS9. Appreciate everything you guys do.
All right, Fort. So Sean gave us a book. Now, I'll say this. There's definitely some things I would love to hear your point of view on. And I know his first question was, like, how does the team get motivated? like they did in 10, 11, and 12. And you're certainly part of those teams. So, like, tell us, I mean, this is, especially at that point, I mean, the years and years and years of losing, and you hope things to turn around, and you start seeing the turnaround. Give us that viewpoint.
I think the losing was not relevant in our minds. And until we started winning, it wasn't even a reality, because every day we're going out and trying to win, and having a bunch of guys that were fighting to stay in the big leagues at first, I think made us all kind of come together in a different way. I think that's something that is invaluable. And then adding strategic pieces, whether Neil Huntington hit that absolutely out of the park or it was just a coincidence, bringing in the right guys. And I'm going to start with, Barmis and Barajas were absolutely game changers to make that more a player-centric clubhouse. Clint Hurdle, more than anything, wanted to allow the players to manage themselves. He's a leader of men. He wants to be out front. He wants to be vocal, but when he's at his best, he can pull back and allow the team to go. But his default is always to get out and speak. And when those guys came in, he stepped back. And that started to change the dynamic and the culture. And then AJ Burnett obviously turned it up a notch with the pitchers in 12, and then 13, he was the leader. Barajas and Barmis in 12 were leaders, and 13, AJ was the leader. And he led in every way. And I think, bring in Russell Martin made it more serious, knowing that it was a springboard. Everybody knew why he was here. The way he went about his work kind of showed, everybody that, hey, this guy was a Yankee. He's won. He's done different things. I don't think him and AJ had a great relationship in New York. They came together in Pittsburgh and realized it was New York was the problem, not the actual relationship they had. And things shifted, and it was all player centric. And that's the biggest key, is like, you want the coaches to facilitate what the players need, serve them, love them, care for them, and just allow them to play, making decisions, fail, and move forward. And I think all that in 11 and 12 was a chance to learn and understand what it takes. But also the organization did a good job building some depth, because that was the reason we lost in 12. In 11, I don't think they believed us. I don't think they believed in it. I think they kind of pulled back and said, it's not our year. And we didn't go all in. And then when we did, it wasn't for real. We just said, we have to throw some last hope. So I think they learned, we learned, and it just came together in 13.
Cool. And like his next part was, do players enjoy being on a team to turn it around, much like the Pirates you're on, or just going to the Yankees and Astros and Dodgers?
So all different. So going to the Astros is completely different than the Yankees. The Yankees, you have to know what you're getting yourself into. You're getting into a huge market. They're going to destroy you if you don't play well. And you have to be willing to swallow that. And in Houston, they have a similar approach to LA. It's an all-around approach. You could be a nobody that no one's taking a chance on. They see something in you, whether it's your, approach at the plate, or an analytic that they like, or a hearsay that they got from somebody, and they just say, hey, we're going to pluck this guy and we're going to take him, and they treat their people well. And I was just with one of the smarter minds I've met in baseball. He's a coach with the Astros, and they're light years ahead of most teams. Same thing in LA. I mean, you're getting a little bit of all of it in LA, but they're not going to destroy you when you lose. They're going to back you. I mean, you look at Trey Turner, you look at Max Muncy, those guys at the exact same time I were free agents coming either off a designation, an injury. Dodgers took a flyer on them and they took off, and they stuck with them. And I think that's the biggest thing, is the difference between maybe the Yankees to Houston to LA, is like they create a better culture and a better dynamic based on, them willing to bet on guys. Like Kershaw doesn't want to sign anywhere else. That
Right.
says enough. You know what I mean? He probably get more money, probably can, save money on taxes somewhere else, but he keeps going back. Maybe he wants to finish as a Dodger, but there's a reason, their manager, their coaching staff has relatively stayed the same over the last decade. I mean, the writing really is on the wall. Guys aren't leaving, and that's really special. You don't see that very, very much. I mean, as soon as the Pirates win, you're going to see guys grasping, I'm sure, to possibly go somewhere else or enhance their career. But great teams, guys go and they're happy, they're satisfied. Like what Ron Washington did blew me away with Atlanta.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming at 71 years old. Especially, he's almost assured to go to the playoffs and be a part of, some of the better players in baseball and their development. And he got to watch them grow up. It'd be hard to leave. So I was really, really surprised. But that's the dynamic of a really good culture and a really good team is the Dodgers and the Astros. I think that's completely different than New York. And I'm sure you see that.
Right. No, I mean, that makes a good point too. Cause I mean, you bring up Kershaw and such. I mean, Kershaw had the opportunity to go home.
Right.
And they won the World Series.
Right.
And he said, I'm staying in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah.
Cool. And just one more thing in here. Well, actually, I'll let you. Do you want to talk about the 2013 atmosphere, Pirates irrelevant, or your top 3 priorities if you're a GM?
You pick. I mean, the 13 atmosphere, you're not going to beat it, period. Like there's nothing else to say. Like there's no way to describe it.
Okay.
It was a sea of black, unreal. We're going to do it again, and it's going to be off the charts. But that was a special time.
Well, let's bring this up then, because you're talking about it a little bit here. I mean, do you think the Pirates are close to being relevant? And this is a hot topic, and I'll just say this right now. Of course, we are recording this on Thursday, so we've already talked about Glassdown, the Dodgers. That has happened. Glassdown has been traded to the Dodgers as of right now, as we're recording. And Jack Flaherty has signed with Detroit for a 1-year, $14 million deal. So that's happened as well. So with this said, how close do you think the Pirates are?
Not as close as they were going into the offseason right now.
I think that's absolutely fair, by the way. That's where I view them.
And honestly, Anthony, like the hard part for me is like I care so much, but like it's lock and key, man. I know more about other organizations than do the Pirates. I know more about the development. I know more about what they're trying to do, where they're going. And it's sad for me because I would give my heart and soul to those guys. Like I would do anything on the planet to work with Henry Davis. And I would do it for free. But like it's not where it should be. I think it's going in the right direction. The injuries are really, really concerning to me. I don't understand when we're going to see in baseball in general that handcuffing guys and pulling back on these super athletes is not a good idea. Everyone has a different threshold, and we need to allow them to find it. Until they find it, we don't know what's right, what's wrong, or what's indifferent. So I hope they do some special things in the next couple weeks to make them better. I think Kutch is coming soon, but they need pitching. And if they don't get pitching, it's a huge fear of mine because what they did last year, they can't do again. They cannot do that again.
We're on the same page.
They just can't. Like, I mean, Oviedo shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I think it's his fault. I think he pitched hurt for a while, but I mean, a guy like him from Cuba, those guys, they live and die for their brothers and their family. You know what I mean? Like he would have gone to war for those guys. So he would have pitched with a bullet in his arm if they asked him to. And when you don't have anybody out there in the bullpen, when you're one of 2 starters that's actually a starter that's pitching, you're going to do everything you can to throw 5-6 innings.
Right.
And
he needed to.
Yeah, he needed to, and it stinks.
Right.
And why protect certain guys and not him? He'd never started in the big leagues, and that's where I get so like confused. And the answers that I get, whether it's from our organization or other organizations, it's just like kind of up in the air. It's not a like this is why. I'm really hoping they nail that down, and they go all in. And if it's wrong, live with it. If it's right, live with it. But the in between, I can't live with. I just hate it, and I feel like that's a lot of where they're at. Is like flirting around with like, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. Like, if you find a guy, go for him.
Right.
So we'll see.
I'm nervous. We'll see. I keep hearing the off season's young, and I understand
it is,
but there's another pitcher, another day.
Yep.
And they need 4. But at least 3. So, anyways, cool. Well, let's go. These next ones are kind of short. So this one does come from Kyle.
What's going on, Sport? It's Kyle. My question for you today is, I'm on your baseball reference page right now, and it tells me that you played a grand total of 1 inning at third base for the Pirates in 2011. I want to know what the circumstances were that led you to playing third base for an inning, and what was really going through your head whenever they tossed you out at third base, and if you'd ever had any experience or a desire to go back out from the plate other than that one time. Thank you.
So, Mr. Versatility, you'd been the perfect Pirate now too. Again, the catcher, first base, they would love you. You sure you're not suiting up?
Don't tempt me anymore. So circumstance was, Hurdle and Neil Huntington, that crew were huge on double switches. The 6th inning came, Garrett Jones is out. Like, it was just double switch galore. Overbay was our first baseman. They took him out early in that ball game to pinch hit for him, and we were just low on players. So I came out from behind the plate, went to third base. Pedro went over to first, and we were playing against Milwaukee, and that was maybe the best lineup in the big leagues at the time. So, of course, we're not at the bottom of the order. Let's just start off with Ricky Weeks, a pull machine, and then followed up with Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun. And I'm like, well,
how are you feeling?
I guess if I'm going to do this, we're going all in. And when you do something like that, there's no expectation. Like, just make the play. If you don't, everybody kind of assumes you won't anyways. So I kind of went out there, just had fun. A ball was hit to the shortstop, Cedeno, just out of my reach. I gave it all I had to try to get it because I really wanted to make a play. But I had a lot of experience with third base. I played it in high school. I played it in college summer ball. I took ground balls every single day when I played, or just about. So, yeah, I always stayed ready just in case. And then, I don't know if you know this, in 13, I almost played right field a couple times to get my bat in the lineup. Ended up, Russell played right because he wanted to play right field more than I did. So I ended up catching the game in Atlanta. But, yeah, I think having the ability to do it is really important. I think it gives a team more options. You don't have to be great, but just be, willing and able to learn the position, set yourself up properly, I think is really, really important. And being a catcher, I should know where to play and different things and depths. So I wasn't uncomfortable. In worst case scenario, I was just going to drop to a knee, block it, and try to throw that guy out at first.
Nice. It's like a Brian's job safe still.
Yeah. He's okay.
Know.
He's okay.
All right. Here's our last one. This comes from Shappy. It's not actually a voicemail. He did leave a comment, though. He does want to know, what was your favorite moment as a Pirate?
My home run, my first home run. I used to say the blackout game, but it's not true. It's 100% my first home run. I mean, facing Carlos Mormal, it's my 19th game. I was more of a power guy in the minor leagues, and I hadn't hit a homer yet, and I didn't know if it was ever going to happen. And here I am, fouling off pitch after pitch. He's making mistakes. It's not like he was just throwing me just nasty pitches. He was hanging me sliders, and I just kept fouling it off. And finally, he hung one right into my barrel, and I just clobbered it. And 38,000 people stand up, go bonkers. Greg Brown still today says, like, that was a moment that it felt like things started to shift. Hindsight, I can maybe, feel that and see that, but it was special. And I got a curtain call. I mean, the fact I got a curtain call is just stupid. My first homer in Pittsburgh, embraced me, just traded a little over 3 weeks ago, and I get a curtain call. It's cool stuff.
The fort.
And that too, like it literally cemented the fort because of Greg Brown and Bob Watt going nuts and just yelling fort. So,
right.
Yeah, all that kind of wrapped up, made that without a doubt my favorite moment. And then my second favorite moment was obviously the blackout game. So
sweet. Well, that wraps up the questions. That pretty much wraps up the show. So I just want to thank you once again coming on, talking. This was awesome. For everyone else, again, as we mentioned, call back. We'll be doing this as we do. Right? I'm not making any more promises. Hey,
yeah. That's
behind
cool.
the scenes,
Cool.
I'm not making any more promises with Michael McKenry on when the show will be. But we will have one. Give us a call, 412-626-7479. Ask your question, and we'll maybe talk about it next time.
Hey, thank you. I had a blast, and thank you for your questions. Looking forward to doing this, consistently. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really do, especially if they keep coming with the hot dog questions. I mean, come on. How does it get better than that?
Maybe next time will be waffles. Who knows? I don't know.
I like waffles.
There it is. Well, everyone, thanks for coming along, watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.
Mm-hmm.